Hello, are you out there? It's Mark with Redo Over, and we are back to Stellaris 4.0 Phoenix Vanilla playthrough, meaning we are not using any of the DLC. All the DLC I have purchased over the years is currently disabled. So, we are going to play the species we made last session, episode 1. This is episode 2. We're playing the Babaki people, and we are essentially the empire of Fulu, coming from the planet Fula. Pretty sweet. The main strength of the little civilization we made is going to be edict scaling, meaning that we're going to try and command all of the edicts, turn all of them on, and get a little bit of bump to a lot of stuff. It's a little tiny strategy, but we've gone into that with our civic ethics, with our species traits, with our leadership, monarchy. It's all going to work out. But where we left off was select the Babaki people, and this is the quick game details before you launch the game. This allows you to adjust stuff around. Now, you can always reset to default, which I'll do really quickly. If you ever want to get back to the base setup that the people who made the game, Paradox, have kind of balanced the game around. This is the optimal, normal way to play the game. It probably has the most play testing. You'll have probably the best results and best effects if you play this way. I'll point out just a couple quick things here. We're going to look at the General Settings tab and then the Advanced Settings tab. Nice thing is, if you make adjustments to, say, the Advanced Settings tab and you start a new game a week from now with the different alien species that you've created, all those settings should still hold. So you don't have to go through it all every single time. But there's a lot of tweaking you can do. So real quickly, cadet level, yeah, player gets bonuses to their economy. It's like baby steps. I'm going to push this up to Ensign, which will just say that the AI has no bonuses. We have no bonuses. It's a flat game. I think most people, even if you're new to the game, can probably start there, where it's just completely neutral. It'll give you a good sense of how the AI works and how strong they are versus you. Yeah. Iron Man mode, we're not worried about. That would be a single save file. So there's no like reloading when something goes wrong. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to play like you play normal video games, where you can cheat, reload, rewind time, and try again with the foreknowledge you gained with your prescience. It's pretty sweet. Galaxy size can go from 200 stars, tiniest, up to 1,000, huge. I am going to start on a 200 playthrough, which will probably take us many episodes to get through. Be cautious if you play on like really large galaxies. I know oftentimes we're inclined with these strategy games. I know I've done it. I'm sure you all have, to play the most massive possible game. It's going to be so epic and so huge. But I warn you, because as oftentimes happens, the scale of it, the number of units gets so massive that the computer you're running on has trouble calculating everything, processing. And the turn time, instead of taking like a half a second to advance the next turn, you get out to 30-second turns, minute-long turns where you're just waiting, and the game becomes unplayable. That's why I don't play on huge maps anymore, because I've been burned way too many times that you put 50 hours into the most epic game playthrough you've ever done, only to be 90% of the way to victory, but every round is taking like minutes at a time just to go one tick, and you're like, it becomes unplayable. Never again. I'll never be burned again. So we're going to play on tiny. Galaxy shape. Yeah, you can see this is kind of the idea of the layout here, this little graphic. I'll play it on barred spiral. Primarily, I like the idea of having defensible areas. Whenever I'm playing a warfare strategy-based game, I like to have well-defined boundaries and defensible boundaries and borders to my empire, my country, whatever, my nation. So I think barred spiral gives you little hidey holes, backwaters. I like that. Hyperlane density, yeah, this is how interconnected all the stars is ours. I'm going to turn it down to the minimum for the same reason as the barred galaxy. The less connectivity, the more choke points you can have, or defensible locations. And to me, that kind of adds to the strategy. If every star system is just massively interconnected, it's a massive spider web, then it makes your empire very, very porous. And it never seems to be a benefit to have the alien empires porous, because as a human, you're only one person running a massive galactic empire by yourself. The reality is you can only command so many fleets for the intellectual burden it puts on you. You're not going to be commanding 25 fleets all over the galaxy every single turn. It will just wear you out real life, because there aren't actually 25 commanders commanding those fleets for you and thinking for you. It's just you, the player. So I like to keep things small, so my mental load, my personal load is kept low. So yeah, less hyperlane density. And otherwise, this is what we're talking about. 3 types of alien species you might face in the game. AI empires are the normal ones. This is comprised of old species you made and the lore species that come with Stellaris that all players see. This is a mixture of them, and that list will grow as you make more and more species in your game. But I'm going to turn that up to 6, and I'm going to click randomize, so it gives me the range of 3 to 6 alien species it's going to choose for me. I will be surprised. I won't exactly know. I kind of like that. Advanced AI starts is an interesting category. It's one of the basic empires, but they are turned up with significant advantages right at the start. Very dangerous. If you were to start with one of them as your neighbors and they were very militaristic or hated your guts because they're diametrically opposed to your species' ethics, they might stomp you into the ground well before you can do anything about it. And you go, well, that doesn't sound very fair. It's not. It's not very fair. It might be fun to have a couple of AI starts if you were playing on one of the larger galaxies, so they'll be kind of far away from you. You'll have a little bit of time before the two of you meet each other out there in deep space. I'm going to have it turned off. And then finally, Fallen Empire. These are the most powerful empires you could more or less make in the game. They're incredibly advanced, but they've gone dormant. Now, if I'm not mistaken, all the Fallen Empires are from a well-defined list of lore Fallen Empires that there's a lot of history and you can learn about what their likes and dislikes and special capabilities are. But yeah, the Fallen Empires, I think, are all pre-made when you get your Stellaris game. So I'm going to turn that on to 1 and turn it to random. 0 or 1. There may be a Fallen Empire, there may not. It's a little exciting. We'll see what happens. I like to not necessarily know. The one thing about Fallen Empires, though, is unless you deliberately poke at them and mess with them, they will give you warnings, but they will not come out of their boundaries. They won't wake up. And if you poke them and they wake up, you're screwed, because you won't be able to stop them. They'll stomp you. They're going to stomp you. Okay, so that's the basic setup. Quickly, I'm trying to make this brisk so we can get to the real game. Let's go to the Advanced Settings tab. There's too much here for me to cover. I mean, there's not that much, but I would encourage you to read through stuff. Crisis type, it's like the end game. The Crisis is the BBEG, the big bad evil guy in roleplay parlance. I have an entire another YouTube channel called Homebrew Fever Dreams, where I talk about D&D and roleplay. That's all. Yeah, so it's my other hobby. FYI. Self-ad. There you go. We'll leave it random. There's a few options to choose from if you wanted to select one specifically. If you wanted to maximize your empire to minimize the Crisis strengths and maximize their vulnerability to what you've built, you could do that. So you could totally game it so like they're way easier to take on. We'll just leave it random. You could scale the strength of it up to 25 times. I wouldn't recommend it. You could do it, but it starts at 1/2. It's not even 1 times multiplier. What else do we have? Scaling difficulty, AI adjustment. Yeah, there's ways to make it so the AIs get start even with you, but then proportionally as the game progresses in time, they get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Really giving you a good challenge, making it fair to start with, but then forcing you to have excellent strategies to keep up with the scaling. So, and all these have pop-ups. If you want to read over these, it'll tell you what it does. There you go. Logistics scaling, growth curves for populations. I will tell you that in general, new colonies start with a pretty low birth rate just because there's not that many people there, I guess. So they can only make new pops the old-fashioned way at a very small rate because there's just not that many. We'll cover that in a future episode. In the middle range of colonies growth scale, it's gonna peak out. There's room to grow, and there's a lot of people. And then finally, at the very advanced stage of colony, when it's shoulder to shoulder, that colony's been around for 100 years, well developed, the growth rate will really drop off. That's the standard. So it's kind of like a little bell curve, okay? It's going to grow the fastest in the middle. I wouldn't mess with these numbers, though, because you run the risk of having a late end game that's broken-ass broken because you have too many pops, too many units, too many resources, and the machine is calculating it, and it's bogging down your turns, slowing down the gameplay in real life. So, okay. Come down here to the galaxy itself, habitable worlds. Yeah, same as with pops. You don't want too many pops in the end game. If you have too many habitable worlds, you're going to get a lot more pops. You could turn this up to 5 times. Well, guess what? That means you get a bunch more colonies, but all the aliens get a bunch more colonies, and that means a lot more units and resources. So, cautious with that. Pre-FTL civilizations. Yeah. Empire placement random, advanced neighbors, disabled. This is, can you have an advanced AI start next to you? We don't have any enabled in this game. Abandoned gateways and wormhole pairs. I'm going to turn those down. Only because if you have a lot of advanced alien abandoned gateways, it allows you, it makes a network that your ships can jump through. Think of jump gates or stargates, right? But it makes the galaxy very porous so that your arch enemy who's on the western side of the galaxy over here that you've been battling for a century gets gateway technologies, and now they can jump all the way to the eastern side of the galaxy and come in through your back door where you didn't have your fleets or defenses yet. It gets annoying, it gets exhausting. Same with wormhole pairs. Wormhole pairs at least match 1-to-1, but for each pair of them, for every 2 they directly link, you can turn your galaxy's defenses into Swiss cheese. You may be thinking, well, that sounds really cool, and I could take advantage of that as the player. The problem is you're playing against 8 alien species, and there's no intellectual load on the AI. So they can run 100 enemy fleets, and you're struggling just to run 8 of your fleets. Like mentally, intellectually, you're not... There's so many fleets moving around every turn that you don't even notice the enemy fleets sneaking in from the south, and they take out one of your main critical colony worlds, and you're like, shit, that was all my alloy production, and my nearest fleet is 7 months away. And now you got to reload the save file because you got to preemptively send your fleet down there to defend that back door that you thought was sealed off, but no, they came in through a wormhole or a gateway. So I turn them down. I don't turn them off, though, because there are some fun roleplay events that can happen around gateways and wormhole pairs. And the same with Fallen Empires and Advanced Empires. And pre-FTL civilizations and pre-sapient species. If you turn any of those things all the way off or down, you're cutting off entire storyline elements of the game. So I would leave all of them on at least a little bit. You may not ever get to a wormhole pair in your game, even if there is a wormhole pair out there. You may not ever deal with pre-sapient species. But there's the chance to, which kind of makes it fun. And it makes each replay of the game as you become a fan of Stellaris interesting because you might run into things you didn't run into the first time. And that's a very common thing. You actually probably have to play Stellaris for hundreds of hours, 1,000 hours to see it all, realistically. But that's my logic there. Guaranteed habitable starting worlds, meaning these are suitable habitat worlds, planets, like continental, tropical, in your immediate vicinity when you start the game. By default, you get 2 extra. You get your home world plus 2. And that's a kind of a fun way to start in the first decade or so. You'll have probably 3 colonies if you want. And as the game progresses, you'll get the ability to colonize further afield, as well as worlds that are less acclimatized to your species. So you could easily grow to 6 worlds, 12 worlds, or beyond. Again, at some point, the burden on you mentally to manage the logistics of that many units can get overwhelming. I usually try and stop around 10 to a dozen colonies myself. Here we go. Precursors. Yeah, this is just fun. These are lore-based ancient precursors. These aren't fallen empires, though. They're before the fallen empires. These are the big boys and girls that exist in the galaxy a million years ago, 50,000 years ago. They even predate the fallen empires. They maybe even were more powerful than the fallen empires. But by turning these on or off, right, you can have as many as you want. But I'll just leave them all on for this game. What the heck? You have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of story there. That's what it's about. Role play. And then finally, this is probably the most important thing about your initial setup, and this is how long the game takes to play. Difficulty is one thing. Size of the galaxy, how many stars, is a pretty big thing, because in general about how much burden it is on you to manage it all, right? But then you have length of game. Game difficulty is about your skill level. Galaxy size, number of stars, is about the mental burden you want to deal with handling all those units and colonies. Management. Real life managing, juggling. But this is how long you want to spend doing the above two. So the way the game works is you have a early game. The first third of the game will go essentially from, you start at the year 2200. Not 2020. 2200. And the mid game will start at 2300 by default. So it's 1 century to play the early game. Mid game starts at 2300. You play the middle third of the game, mid game, until the year 2400. It's another century. And that's when the end game starts. The final third of the game. That's when you'll face the crisis. And you will then play the end game till the year 2500. Another century. So the first century, the second century, the third century. 300 years. You're playing the game one day at a time. It goes pretty quick, like click, 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 click. So don't sweat that. But a lot of stuff can happen on any given day. Pausing the clock, things you've got to deal with, things you've got to calculate, make movements, offer commands, storyline elements come up. You got to read through them and make decisions. But yeah, I recommend, in my preference, particularly if you're new to Stellaris and you want to get a feel for the game, you want to get a couple of playthroughs under your belt before you start dealing with the more advanced, more difficult, crazier builds, bigger galaxies. Let's turn this stuff down. Let's take our early game down to 50 years. Let's take our mid game down to 75 years. So we're going to play from 2200 to 2250, 50 years first game. Then from 2250 to 2325 will be 75 more years. And then let's take our end game. Let's give ourselves an additional 70. Oh, it won't let me click on that. We'll give ourselves an additional 50 years to finish the end game. So all together, we're going to play for just 175 years instead of 300. So that's about 60%. So we shortened the game by a considerable amount, a big chunk. We've taken over a third off of the game time. In particular, since I'm trying to make this series for all you folks, we might be playing at this for many weekends, for many months, for most of 2025. I don't know, but I don't want it to go too long. So yeah, that's it. That'll make a relatively short game. I think we'll have a good time with it. Actually, could we go even less? Could we take that too? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do 50 years, and 50 years. There you go. So we've cut it straight in half. All right, let's hit play. If anyone got through, that took 20 minutes. We still got 40 minutes to look at fun stuff, though. So I'm trying to explain everything. It's not all super exciting. Oh, you know what's exciting? And I don't get paid to say this. On Steam, Civilization 6 is on sale this week for $6. I picked it up. It was essentially free. It's like it's $5.99. I'm just like, what? And I've heard good things about Civilization 6. I have not played it though. So yeah, I grabbed it. I fiddled with it for like an hour last night, but I'm gonna learn to play it, and if it's cool, if I like it, I might make video series on Civilization 6. I've heard great things about it. You know, watch videos on YouTube and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited. But that's and it's just the base game. There's a lot of DLC for Civ 6, so I will probably just make a vanilla playthrough of that one as well with no DLC. Because again, it'll cost you $100 to buy all the DLC for Civilization 6. Yeah, what the heck? It's my niche now. It's what I do. Is play vanilla games, I guess. Here we go. We just started here, folks. There was a pop-up screen. Did I just hide it? I must have hit it. Okay, that initial pop-up screen just says, here you are, ready to go out into the galaxy and explore. What we represent is a unified single home world of Fula around a binary star system, Fu A, Fu B. And we've already explored our starting solar system. You can see these wonderful planets here. Here's gas giants, a Black Flag Harbor, Vicjord, Corsair's Haven. They're cool names, but yeah, these are all like little worlds. So this is actually our starting world. You see the little house symbol there on the planet? This is Fula, our world. This is it. I'm going to close it real quick though. Each little panel I go into, we're going to talk about. We may spend several episodes just looking at the panels. So that's our home world. All these other symbols actually represent like mining stations, right? So this mining station here is probably grabbing minerals. This one here is probably grabbing energy. Think like solar, uranium, possibly helium-3 from gas giants for fusion reactions. Energy sources. Some of them, look at this one. Look at this little symbol here. This kind of cool globe symbol is for society research. It's science. You're harvesting science from not a mining station, but a research station. So there's actually like a little... we can zoom in here. Right here. Look, I'm using my mouse wheel to zoom all the way in. This is in orbit around this world, and this station's got some of our people in it, some Baki scientists, and they are analyzing the chemistry of the Corsair's Haven, getting societal research. So that's what all the, I don't want to say, they're not satellites, they're space stations in orbit around all the different objects in our home solar system. Yes, there you go. Interestingly, you see this blue swirling gas? Our home system, we evolved in a nebula. If down here at the bottom, you can see this blue symbol with the little lightning bolt. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, we're inside of a nebula. Interesting, nebula block outside sensors from being able to see into our system. That adds to the stealth. That actually gives us a small defensive advantage, because alien sensors can't tell what our situation is in here. And I think, honestly, nebula interfere with shields. Like put shields up, shields at 20%, Captain. Yeah, I think the nebula messes with shields. So that's kind of cool. Now I'm going to click on the galaxy button right here, and it takes us to the galaxy view. So I can switch to the solar system view or to the galaxy view. Now I'm going to use the mouse wheel to zoom out, and here is our tiny little galaxy. Now with the mouse buttons, you can like click and drag, rotate, right? So like right mouse lets you rotate like all that. You want to, and then if I click the left and right mouse button, hold, I can drag around. and then mouse wheel, scroll in, scroll out. So you can see all these little dots here. These essentially represent systems. Now, when you make your galaxy size, it's stars, not systems. So you can see I have single star systems, trinary, right? Star systems, and binary right there. So yeah, there may not be 200 systems. There's probably considerably less. There's probably 125 systems with about 200 stars. There you go. But and you can see generally the 2 barred arms. So yeah, I mean, my idea might be to like try and conquer our half of the galaxy. Explore this, take control. We don't know how many alien empires are out there exactly, but you can see there's very few joining spots between the 2 hemispheres of this tiny galaxy. I would imagine this star connects to this one, or maybe this one to this one, but yeah, there aren't too many connection points. So potentially we could have some strategic shenanigans to defend. All right, so that's the galaxy. Just visually, that's the galaxy. Solar systems, planets, stars, the whole galaxy. Now, let's look at the user interface of the game real quickly here. On this side, these are kind of all your sub-menus. Situation log, government, society management, technology, leaders, species, planets and sectors. Yes, I'm reading to you in case you can't read yourself. But there's about 12 of them, sure. Now, if I click into any one of these, let's go to government. It'll bring up a window. We will work through all these right in order. Don't worry. There's a lot to explain. In particular, though, although this is the government tab, you can see down here there are sub-tabs. So from the government window, we can see our council. That's tab 1. We can see our factions, which is empty. There's no factions yet. And our policies and our edicts that we are going to master. Our civilization is going to be the best edicts. So yeah, in many of these subcategories, sub-windows, you can see they're hot linked to the F keys, F1 through 10. Many of them, not all of them, have multi-tabs inside of them. That's kind of, I don't want to say where the game is played. It's where you have access to a lot of information, make decisions. Very much your game is actively played through the galaxy map, moving your fleets around, and of course your planets and units. So let's think about it this way. This pop-up is all your information. To the right here is your overview. This is all of your units. These are the things, the entities within your civilization that you control. We have our sectors of space, the Alpha Sector, Delta Sector, quadrants, and Star Trek sectors. Inside of each sector, you can have multiple, I don't want to say planets, I want to say colonies, right? You can have uninhabitable planets that you control, but you don't do anything with them. Maybe you harvest some energy or minerals off them, but you don't have any people there. But these are our actual colonies. You have our military fleets. Right now we have the First Fleet, right? The Belt Manglers, that's what they're called. But you can have multiple fleets. These will have actual warships in them, little corvettes. And you can actually see the ships. Like there's no way to click on it and see it, but if I click on the little magnifying glass symbol, whether it's for a planet or a ship, it will essentially bring up the details. So that is our corvette. It's kind of like the smallest ship you can make. It's a warship. Shows you all sorts of cool weaponry, right? Laser beams, shields, propulsion. Gives you all the stats. We'll get into all of that. And we might even get into ship design at some point. I'll close that down. FYI, everything in the game exists somewhere physically. So for instance, let's go back real quick to the Belt Manglers. I can also go to, right up here at the top, I have a camera with a lock symbol. It'll jump me into where the fleet is. Oh, I wanted to actually see them though. Hold on. Well, they're in the solar system. And where are they at? Where are they at here, folks? Right here. It highlighted them in yellow. And if I zoom in, keep zooming, where they? Oh, there they are. Check it out. This is my star base in the system. These are my Corvettes right here. That's physically the ship. You can't see below them, but you can see above them. I just love that there's that level of detail. I think a lot of people, myself included, when I first started playing Stellaris, this might be a little boring, but I guess to me it's interesting. You start the game kind of like this view here, right? And you're going, oh, okay, little rock worlds, and you go to the galaxy map, and you're like, oh, stars, right? It seems like it's not very graphically detailed, but I just find it cool and charming, the fact that you can zoom in every single ship you have. If you have 500 Corvettes and 100 battleships and cruisers and destroyers, they're all in the game. They're there. You can mouse over them. They will have their own battle damage. Like this one's hull points could be down to 30 because it was just in a fight. And the one next to it could be at full. They're truly discreet. And when you actually get into cool fights, you can have your fleet of 100 ships interfacing with the other 100 ships. You can turn down the game speed to slowest. So it's actually, you see them cruising around each other, shooting, firing missiles, fighter craft, beam weapons. Yeah, it can be kind of cool to look at. So at any rate, I digress. Let's jump back out to the galaxy view. So we have our information, the way we control our civilization over here on the left. Over here we have our overview, our little outliners, I guess they call them. We have two tabs. You might have multiple tabs at the top, so pay attention to that. Civilian ships, I have a construction ship. This will be for making stations. I have a science ship. This is for, I think, the Enterprise going out and searching for strange new life and civilizations. And yeah, it'll research anomalies, find new habitable worlds, do all that kind of cool stuff. Advance a lot of RP storylines and choices. And we have our shipyard. This is the space station that is in our system. The big space station we zoomed into where our Corvettes are docked. We can build new ships there, as well as your space station you can build up with special buildings and modules to get other cool things going on in the space stations. Each space station is almost like a baby colony. It doesn't really have people on it per se, but there's a lot you can do with it. And you'll only have so many stations, like you'll only have so many colonies. So they're pretty cool to mess with. And then up here we have this tab is a sub tab that just narrows down our fleets, because we could have many science ships, many constructors, colony ships, as well as many military fleets. So you'll see that in this list will grow. But yeah, there you go. And then up at the top is our resource bar. This bar is always going to be up here. This isn't something you have to interface with. This is more just straight information. There's no choices or dials up here. This is just showing you how much money you got in the piggy bank. We'll go over that in just a minute here. It's probably where we'll start. What else do we got though before we jump in? You can have some down behind my face box over here are some hotkey groups for your fleets, because you're actually interfacing with your fleets and you're sending them around. So I'm not going to move my face, but you can have your colonies, your military fleets, your science ships, your constructors, and you can essentially rapidly get to them. You can also get to them over here. But okay, down here you have some different display options for how the galaxy maps are shown to you. Stuff such as opinion map mode, which would probably be for AI, alien civilization opinions, AI attitude map, neighbor map mode, hyperlane map mode. Sure, I'll let you folks mess with that. I honestly don't really use those. I'm sure advanced players, maybe as we get the game going a bit, we've met other alien species. At some point, I'll try and remember to take a look at those and just see if the way it displays information on the galaxy map can impart something useful to us for our strategies or tactics. You got your save option down here. Main menu will pop up, save game, load game, all that. Hit resume. So that's kind of your UI controls down here. So what else is important right off the bat to know? A couple things before we run the game. Anytime you have an outstanding and very important choice to make that you as the player need to make, or you don't want to leave waiting, you'll get a little temporary pop-up window. Pay attention to any of these alerts right along here. Don't leave them lingering. In this case, it's saying you need to choose a research. You need to choose a society research. You need to choose an engineering research. Do so, or you're not researching anything. And that's bad. That'll break your game. It's a huge detriment to leave it, so don't leave it. And this final one is Empire Focus. Yeah, so anything happens with your leaders, you detect some cool new anomaly or whatever, you'll get pop-ups. You want to deal with them as you go. That's kind of playing the game, the management part of it. So we'll get into those. And then finally, maybe a little bit obscure, but we are in the year 2200, the first month, the first day. The game advances by days, 30 days to a month, 12 months, 10. I think it's 12 months to a year here. I've never paid that close of attention. Yeah. So I guess it's 30 times 12 would be 360 days a year, I think. And you can pause and unpause the game. Down here, you can also click the, well, it shows you paused, unpaused, but your space bar on your keyboard, pause, unpause. All right? So you've got a couple ways to pause and unpause the game. Importantly, you can adjust the speed. Right now, when we hit play, it's going at a normal speed. You see the days clicking up? Now we can slow it down. We'll go to slowest. And you can see it's a few seconds between each day click. And then we can speed it up to fastest. Look at those days fly. I'm stopping it. So we've already lost 50 days. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Normally, you'd want to be getting everything set up on day 1 or day 2. But I'm showing you how to use stuff. So, normal mode's probably a good way to start. It's important to know that by default, the game will usually pause whenever an important choice pops up initially. So you don't want to leave the clock running for too long, or you're really going to be missing out on stuff. So pay attention to pop-ups. If you've got things running pretty smoothly and you're relatively experienced, by all means, run the game at fast or fastest mode, and those days will really fly by. And it just, when you've seen every anomaly, you don't even need to read through all the flavor text anymore because you've already read it a few times. You know, oh, I see that anomaly. You just, you click something and you just go on. You don't spend 30 seconds reading through and pondering and enjoying the story. The game will go much quicker that way. That's how you play the game. So, to start with, we are going to get our initial couple of choices made to get our game working. So, in this case, let's look at our research. You could get your research here or through the technology tab. Okay? Now, if I click on an emergency pop-up, it'll bring up the appropriate window. This, in fact, is the technology window. You can see it's highlighted there, so that's what we're in. Now, there are 3 kinds of research in the game. Physics, social, sociology, and engineering. Okay. So we are selecting from the blue tab, the green, or the orange. Physics, society is green, engineering is orange. Physics is blue. I can see here that my head of research is Voidborn Mary, and her speciality in this case is field manipulation technologies. She will research any field manipulation technology 15% faster, and the chance of field manipulation research options popping up for her is 25% greater. Now, she has no speciality in society or engineering. You could potentially hire other scientists, assign them as your head of research. If you knew you wanted to go after engineering technologies or society technologies or physics technologies, different categories, you could find the right scientist for you. By random chance, we got Voidborn Mary, who loves field manipulation. Cool. All right. Well, to start with, every time we get to choose a new technology, we have 3 new options are available. That can be increased with technologies and things you'll come across in the game. You can get to 4 or 5 possible new technology choices every time. But for the time being, we can do AI research, fusion power, or zero-G labs. In general, you can mouse over and get a little bit more detail. You can get a little bit of flavor text, right? Telling you cool stuff. But here is the cost, 2,200. That's not the year. That's the cost in research points, 2,750 or 2,200. When you see the little lock with blueprints, it means that by researching fusion power, it will lead to further advancements in other fields. It is a blocker or a lock. The fields that are downstream from fusion power will never be revealed to us until we research fusion power to start with. So administrative AI is just at base will give us a plus 5% to research speed, but it'll make the researchers' upkeep or the tax on our researchers go up by 5%. So it's a good bonus with a little bit of a detriment. In general, most jobs, most working people in your society will produce what they produce in a larger chunk than their upkeep. In general, what you feed in is a smaller number of pennies than the dollars you get out. You put in less than you get out for the most part. But be cautious if you blow that up a lot. If you really start boosting the upkeep cumulatively with different technologies you play a game, it can get really unwieldy. The taxes burden can be extremely high for your worker jobs. Be cautious. It's a good technology though. Fusion power, this is the amount of energy and equipment our military ships can have on board. We have a basic fission reactor, I'm guessing right now. An RTG maybe, a really big one on our corvettes and our science ships. But yeah, we could go to fusion power, cold fusion, and get a lot more power on the ships. In particular, if we were going to go warfare, military, we know we want to have massive fleets. Be a good idea. Or if we want to play more inwardly, we could maybe go with research station output. 10% bonus with no detriment. There's no extra cost. This is just a flat universal. Say you have 20 research stations out there in the galaxy that are, looking at alien planets and analyzing nebula and weird space phenomena, and they're slowly feeding you research every turn. This is a flat 10% bonus to that. And it's stackable because you see the Roman numeral 1 or the capital I right there. That can go from 1 to 2 to 3, and you'll go from a 10 to a 20 to a 30%. You can really balloon that up if you push it. The nice thing is as soon as you learn it, as soon as we get to 2200, if we were to choose this technology, it's instantly applied. We don't have to go out and individually modify every research station. It just gets it. So it's an easy technology for us to interface with. The load on us is very small, and it's easy to understand the benefit right off the bat. Whereas with something like administrative AI, we got to do a little bit of calculation because plus 5% to research speed is easy to understand, but what is the research upkeep of plus 5 going to really cost us? Now I got to go in and look at what researchers are, dig in, see what we're paying for them to have their researcher job. Like what do our scientists really cost us? No big deal. So for right now though, God, it's all good. Let's not overthink it. Let's just grab research station output. It is not the best choice. I'm not pretending it's the best choice there. It's just a simple one for us to talk about. So FYI, you can see we're still in the technology window. Now, I could click on the next one of these saying, hey, choose a society, choose a research, or I could just continue from the technologies window and choose them right here. Same way to do that. So let's go to society. Ooh, here we go. We have our 3 new options. Xenobiology, off-world trading companies, genome mapping, but we have a 4th option down here. You notice how it's got this golden highlight? This is a bonus technology pathway that is offered to us because we chose our unification. Our origin was planetary unification. I can't remember what the hell it's called. But yeah, planetary unification. So not every alien species gets this offered to them to start the game. But because of our origin, it's given to us as an option to research. It's not for free. We still have to research it, but let's go over them really quickly. Xenobiological Lab. It's a special type of research building we can put on our colonies, our homeworld, or our other colonies in the future that will give us additional biologist, scientist jobs. And we can push up our green society research symbol and get that quicker. Okay, cool. Off-world trading company would get us. This is a unlocked star-based building. So this is a type of building we could put on our Fu Station shipyard over here. And it would give us more trade. A little bit. That's cool. It's not critical, though. That's not that good. It's not. In particular, we're not building our civilization around generating trade. We're not space traders, so it's not that useful. Genome mapping. This is a nice one. This is a good and simple to apply technology. You research genome mapping, your pop growth speed goes up by 10%. Simple. You don't got to do anything. You don't got to make anything. There's no upkeep tax burden. It just happens roughly for free. It's a good one. And you can see, in fact, it's locking other things on the biological path. So if we knew we wanted to go for growth rate, we'd want to go down that path early. But finally, I think we want to go into planetary unification, our special. It's not that other aliens couldn't get access to this randomly, but we're guaranteed it. And one other thing I'll point out is whenever you have one of these golden outline technologies, it will always be there till you research it. So say I go, planetary unification, I don't need it yet. I want the xenobiology lab. And we research that lab, and in a few years we get it. And it's like, okay, pick a new society research. When it gives us 3 new options, right? The 3 right there, this will still be sitting there. It'll be in there as long as it takes until we research it. And you can actually accumulate quite a few extra technologies at the bottom of this list. You get a scroll bar here, and there can be like 6 or 7 options in here. They'll just hang out until you choose them. But in this case, I want this because, look, it's going to grant a small amount of unity. It's going to give us, the small amount is, it'll give us a 1 month's worth of unity in a lump sum, I think. Or maybe a year's worth. I don't know. It'll give us just a treasure trove of unity one time. It will also give us monthly unity from any source, priests, buildings, whatever, leaders, of plus 5% for our entire empire. It is an empire-wide modification forever. It costs us nothing. Now, 5% is pretty small, but it would be nice to have that across the whole galaxy. And we know that unity is pretty important to our build. I mean, edicts is what's important. But we pay for edicts with unity, okay? And finally, it would unlock an additional edicts called campaigns that cost energy instead of unity. Cool. I personally want to get as many edicts available to us as possible. We'll go look at the edicts tab again here if we have time. I think there's only 3 edicts in there to start, usually 3 or 4 for most empires. But I'm going to preferentially go after choices in the game that get me more and more edicts because I can have all the edicts because of how I built the civilization. So yeah, I want planetary unification, and it's even unlocking other things down the administrative path. Cool. Simple choice. There you go. And you can see here 71 months to get the 0G labs, 60 months to get the planetary unification, and finally engineering. We've got the 3 options. Ceramo metal materials. This is armor on ships. Tougher ships. It's locking other armors behind it. Infrastructure path. Cool. 0G refineries. This is mining stations. This is actually kind of the same as research station output. We have a bunch of research stations we built in the galaxy getting research. Mining stations are going to be harvesting energy and minerals. And they're floating out there in space. Is it energy? No, wait. I think it's just minerals. I don't think energy stations are mining stations. But the little red gem mineral symbol right up here, right? It's going to give us 10% more of that. But it's free. It'll be applied immediately. And it also gives us a building. Unlocks Starbase Building Nebula Refinery. Ooh. That's actually a really good building. Level 1 for this, by the way. Multiple levels of 0G refineries. Multiple levels of Ceramo materials. We're already at level 2. I guess we have level 1 already. And Afterburners level 1. Afterburners make your ships go around quicker. You can mouse over here. Oh, there's so much to talk about, you guys. I can't get to it all. I'm giving you the quick overview of everything on the screen that we're seeing, and then we'll dig into what does the green A mean. It's its own conversation for another day. There's so much to cover. Months and months of stuff to cover. Yeah, so this is for military ships, armors for military ships. Like if we know, I think we're pacifists, right? Aren't we like spiritualist pacifists? But if you want to be like conquering people, this is the stuff you'd go after. For us, though, I'm going to take the middle one because we are more laid back. We're more introspective. We build our own people up as opposed to worry about what everyone else is doing, right? So we're going to take the zero-G refineries. I want the mining station output, and I really want that nebula refinery. That star-based building. The upkeep is 2 energy cost each month, but it produces 10 minerals each month. That's a really good exchange rate. 2 minerals, 2 energy for 10 minerals. Yeah, that's very valuable. It's a good multiplier. We're converting one resource into a lot more of another resource. That's the whole name of the game. Ultimately, Stellaris is a economics simulator. It very much is. It's a financials game more so than a military game, if I'm going to be really blunt. And I'm not the only one that says that. It's got really the most intricate and most detailed economic system of probably any Forex game out there that I'm aware of. Yeah. So let's grab it. There you go. Now you'll notice those boxes have disappeared. I want to just check real quick. Let's jump back into Foo. Yeah. Here's one last thing. It just so happens that our starting system of Foo exists in a nebula. I point that out because most of the star systems out here are not in nebulas. So when I chose the nebula refinery technology for our engineering, that building would be useless until we eventually found a star system that was in a nebula where we built a star base to then build the building. A lot of steps. But for us, we'll be able to take advantage of it right away. That's really nice. So we've kind of looked at everything here. Let's spend the last 10 minutes. I know there's a couple more little pop-ups here because we got to get into leaders. We got to get into the Empire Focus, which is a brand new thing in 4.0, which is pretty darn interesting that I'm learning about myself, that unlocks tech trees depending on how your empire is advancing and whether you're going after military or social or whatever. You kind of take your nation in different directions. It's cool. It allows you to really path more and gives you more of a focus as a player. So it's pretty sweet that way. But these are going to have to wait till episode 3. We haven't even really started the game yet. I mean, we haven't done anything with our world yet. We haven't done anything with our space station, our shipyard yet. So much. But here's what I want to talk about in our final minutes. The resources at the top. Let's just run through this real quickly, and we'll just talk about kind of what we're making. This is like the dollars and cents, and money's fun. Everybody likes to get rich. This is how we get rich, is up here. This symbol real quick. This is a pop-up of our entire civilization. I will go into it in more detail, but this is where any special modifiers. It shows our leader. If you forgot what your ethics, what your civics are, what your origin right here, process unification, shows you all this. Multiple tabs. We're going to get into all that. So that's its own special lesson. But starting up here at the top, energy. We have energy credits. Energy is the currency of the galaxy. Because ultimately, energy is the ability to make something happen. Like literally in physics, thermodynamics, that's what energy is. So between disparate Xeno empires, what they have in common is a need for energy. You got to have a energy gradient in order for engines to run, and concentrated energy is how all civilizations drive everything forward. Okay? So yeah, energy is kind of like money. Now that was more so in older versions of Stellaris. It's less so now because they've reworked how trade works. So now trade is also kind of like a currency. What are you going to do? In general, though, energy almost every unit you make, every building, every space station, every mining station, every ship is going to have a little bit of an energy tax upkeep. Okay? So bear that in mind. And you do get a nice breakdown on these pop-ups. There we go. I can now mouse in. You can see you've got what you've stored. The max you could store would be 25,000 energy credits. Our monthly gain, we're currently at a positive almost 74 energy credits per month. All these numbers up here work off a monthly basis, not a daily basis. So when I run the clock and you see the days clicking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there are no calculations being done on the inside. It's only when the month goes from the 30th day to the first day does it do all the calculations. You cash in, you pay out, you pay your taxes, your upkeep, you get your bonuses, all the work that's been done. So don't ever feel like when the days are ticking over that you're missing something. The only things that really happen on a daily basis in the game that I'm aware of are fleets moving in real time through space. They actually, the little ship icons will like literally move from point A to point B, and combat. Weapons are cooling down and firing every few days. So as 4 days go by, they fire their plasma beam. 4 days later, the fleet has maneuvered a little bit further. They fire the plasma beam again. Missiles are on the way. That's real time. That's day by day. Energy shields recharging point by point. Yeah. But for our economics, month by month. Okay. This is what we're producing, 111. And I'm breaking this one down a little more because all the others will kind of work in the same way. It's breaking it down. Hey, are these coming from base, mean base level? Every empire gets a base of 20 energy. Cool. Your space stations, trade policy, just one of many policies. Jobs, meaning your pops jobs. You have millions of workers, population, running jobs. Some of those jobs make energy. Not all. Some make research. Some make unity. Priests don't make energy. Priests make unity. And then what you're consuming there, that's coming down to, it's the minus 37. Your ships take a little bit of upkeep. Your space stations take a little bit of upkeep. Your star bases, mining stations and research stations are stations. Star bases are star bases, meaning like shipyards, manufacturing buildings, like on your star bases. They're defensive. They have their own laser turrets and armor and hit points. So you fight star bases, you build things at star bases. Star bases are like, again, the mini planets. Stations are just dumb little auxiliary mining and research stations. You don't really interface with in any way. There's nothing you can do with them. It keeps the load down on you as the player that way, just so you know. Buildings. Buildings exist in general on planets, although you can have star-based buildings. I'm not sure. I think starbase upkeep, though, starbase buildings would fall under starbases, whereas buildings fall under planetary buildings. Yeah, I think. Don't worry about it too much. But you can see the numbers there. And then finally, districts. Districts are areas on your planets, your colonies. Think of the Mississippi flood basin. Massive part of North America where a massive amount of food is grown. That would be a district. The Tokyo, Japan super city, the entire area of Japan, of Tokyo, would potentially be a district. It's a mega city with tens of millions of people where a massive amount of commerce and research is done. That would represent a planetary district. Okay, think of it that way. Amazon basin, Antarctica, right? So continent to country-sized areas to megacity areas represent what districts are within a planet. Now, we only have one planet, Thula, and it currently has 15 districts that are active. Those are making energy, food, mining districts, city districts. Yeah, we'll get into that when we look at Thula, the planet. Okay, so that's basically it. It gives you some basic cheats down here. By the way, hey, what are energy credits? How do you make more? How do you increase them? Cool. Very cool. So you can learn through all those things if you want to learn more detail about what energy credits are. Let's jump over to minerals. Minerals are how you are going to make more districts, and more buildings. So minerals specifically are mostly for developing your planets. Planet-side development is what you need for minerals. Buildings will cost 300, 400, 500 minerals per building, per district, just to give you an idea of how much. So right now we only have 224 minerals stored. We can't even make one building or district with that. We're gonna have to save up for several months to get to 400 or 500 to get our first building. Gives you a scale of it. So maybe you can make it one new building a year right now. You know, maybe 3 buildings every 2 years or something. But you can greatly increase your mineral production by getting more miner jobs or more mining space stations, mining asteroid belts, barren worlds and moons, cool shit like that. Okay, food. Food is primarily just produced on planets by farmers. It's the main way you'd get food. Food has only one real purpose, and that is to feed pops. If you look at the breakout here, we have a base of 20. Every civilization gets the base, and our farmers, our jobs of farmers are making 73. Consumed, only one thing consumes them, pops. So for the most part, you're only going to want to need as much food each month as you need to feed people. By all means, have a little bit of surplus, you know, extra 10, 20 a month, no big deal. You can store it up for days of famine, or if you want to sell some, it's a way to hold extra energy credits or trade. You can liquidate 10,000 food if you have that surplus. But in general, you don't want to be overproducing on food because it's probably the least valuable resource. Not probably, it is the least valuable resource we're going to talk about. Okay. Next, we move on. So these are your common or your base resources. These are your medium rarity resources, meaning they're more expensive. They're like 2 to 3 times more expensive than your base ones. Consumer goods. Consumer goods are what most people in your society, most pops, consume and kind of make. It's sort of the intermediary between everything else. Ultimately, your scientists, your metallurgists, your priests, all of them are going to need to have consumer goods that they take in, a small amount of them, to produce more of some other resource. So consumer good is an intermediary resource. You don't harvest it out of space directly. You turn minerals or energy or unity into consumer goods, or trade into consumer goods. And then those consumer goods get made into alloys, research, unity, other things. So it's a little abstract. Usually it's a pretty tight resource. It's actually kind of tricky to get a large surplus of consumer goods because almost every other job is taking up a bit of consumer goods to do their job. So this is going to be a pretty tight number. You definitely want to keep it positive, and making more of it is good if you can. But at the same time, having an extra 100 surplus consumer goods every single month doesn't really serve a purpose because by themselves, they're not getting you anything. They're intermediary. Alloys. Alloys are for making anything in space. Remember, minerals are how you develop your planet side stuff. Alloys are how you just develop your space side, your fleets, and your space station. Every station you make, every ship you make, you know, whether it's corvettes, science ships, colony ships, they take alloys. You can never have too many alloys because upgrading star bases can cost thousands of alloys apiece. Building even the basic mining stations can cost 100 alloy. Your basic science ship or corvette, military ship, 100 alloy, just like that. Battleships can cost many hundreds of alloys. And if you have 10,000 extra alloy and you get in a war, you might say battleship, cruiser, destroyer, and then all your alloys, you've taken all your surplus and dumped them into a quick fleet. And you should also be building up your fleet bit by bit all the time. Always be having 1 or 2 corvettes in the shipyard queue, building your fleets up to as large as you can have your naval capacity, which is another thing we'll talk about here in a bit. Let's keep going. This one will be a little over an hour, but once we're done with this top one, it's going to be today's episode, folks. So alloy is for space development. Okay, minerals for planetary development. Here we go, trade. So trade used to be something that you would, you'd have traders, clerks, whatever, trade routes in space. You'd get trade, and it would generally be converted into energy, because energy was the currency. And interesting, you can do some interesting builds around trade, but they've changed it up a little bit. Now you generate trade, and you can convert trade into other things, but now trade particularly is how the entire market works. Market, like stock exchange almost. I'll jump in here real quick. In the market, you can buy any other resource. Energy, minerals, food, commercial goods, alloys, even some rare, strategic, unusual things will eventually, you don't see them now, but eventually there can be quite a few things. But everything in here, you purchase or sell for trade. So in that sense, trade has been promoted to a secondary currency. Energy used to be the currency, but now, in a much realer sense, trade very much is the currency between civilizations. And it actually makes sense, because trade literally means I'm trading this for this. And so trade has become the common currency that all other resources are now reduced to for the trade to function. Meaning that I cannot give you 100 minerals and you give me 50 alloy. That doesn't work. We cannot directly trade in that true sense. We must convert the mineral to trade, and then with the trade, I can reconvert that into alloy. Okay, so makes trade, in my mind, a lot cooler. I haven't dealt with how this works yet, but in my mind, logically, I really like this. I think it's a much more clear and efficacious representation of what trade is in the game. And I like the way it works through the market as well. So we're not really leaning towards trade, but I like it. More is better. You can obviously store it up. You can store up to 50,000 trade. So, yeah. I would piggy bank energy. I would piggy bank trade within reason. Meaning, say, if you have a surplus, that's good. Go for a good amount of it. Okay, let's keep moving. We have strategic resources. Volatile motes, exotic gases, rare crystals, living metals, I believe how you say that, dark matter, and nanites. Those are the 7 strategic resources in the game. At this point, we lack the technology nor the knowledge of them. Although we can see them here, we've never come across a volatile mote in space. At some point, as we explore the galaxy around our home system, we will come across some of these. Possibly not all of these. You could play through an entire game of Stellaris and never find a nanite resource. And never get a single nanite. Possible. What you're going to find, though, are the top 3 are the most common. Volatile motes, exotic gases, rare crystals. All 3 of those will be necessary for special advanced technologies. You're probably going to want to gain access to all those at some point, if possible. But living metals, dark matter, and nanites, that's a game-by-game scenario, and their uses are much more limited. Bear in mind, these resources cost a lot more trade per unit than alloys or consumer goods, and a whole lot more than the energy, minerals, or food. So these 3 are the cheapest, these are the intermediates, and the rare resources are the really valuable ones. You might find an anomaly or a roleplay situation where you gain 50 volatile motes as a reward. You find a pirate treasure. Those 50 volatile motes you might be able to sell for 10 trade apiece, and therefore you just got 500 trade worth of this resource if you didn't need it for anything else. So yeah, it can be fun. Although you can get to harvesting those yourself at some point, it's rare to be producing more than 10 to 20 of them a month on your own. You'd really have to go for it, but you will get some. You'll be making 5, you'll be making 10, maybe up to 20 if you really lean into it for those more common ones. Okay. But we don't need them yet. Doesn't matter yet. Okay, let's go through the final couple of things here. Influence, yeah. Influence is power projection in a very real sense. Influence is going to allow you to claim star systems. So to grow our empire even one more star system, we will need influence. Interesting thing is, influence is one of the hardest things to gain in the game because everyone gains around 3. You can bump it up a little bit. You can get to 4 influence a month. You can get to +5 influence a month, maybe +6. You're not going to get much further than that, though. It's very level. It's a very linear resource. You can certainly spend it in a variety of ways. You can have less. You might dip down to only having an extra 2 influence a month, or if you work hard, you can get up to an extra 5 a month. But it's all going to be in that range there. Most alien species in the early game, in the mid game, in the late game are only going to be producing a surplus of 3, 4, 5 influence a month, no matter what you do, no matter what your technology is. So it's quite linear. It's always in a similar state for all species. You never need that much of it, but it's designed almost, I'll tell you, it's designed to throttle how quickly you can claim star systems and expand your territory, and how many in warfare, how quickly your military fleets can conquer and capture enemy star systems. I say that because it's an unusual thing about Stellaris. Just sending your military fleet in to an undefended star system the enemy has, you take over their star base, you capture it, its color switches to your flag. You're like, we did it, we won. We've taken over 3 star systems. We didn't even lose a single ship. It was so lightly defended. That doesn't mean when the war ends, you claim those systems. You actually have to spend influence through the claim system to make a claim, win it in war, hold it until the war ends, and then the star system becomes yours. And that's important because what that means is it kind of restricts a player or an alien species from making the most powerful military fleet to the detriment of all other aspects of their civilization to just go blitzkrieg the galaxy. Well, you can have a strong military fleet. You can build it at the expense of every other aspect of your civilization, but your blitzkrieg, for the most part, for most civilizations, will be throttled by how quickly you can generate influence. And because you can ever only turn that up so high, you can only grab so many new systems per war. Even if your enemy is hapless and helpless against you, hapless means the same thing. You can't gobble up all 20 of their systems in one war. You might only be able to get 5 or 10 of them in a war, and it'll take you chunk by chunk over many years of warfare, decades potentially, to completely gobble up an enemy system. And that may seem cool or not cool to you, but there are other ways to go about it. You could get them to vassalize to you. That's right. You might go conquer half of their empire, and in the end, they're so weakened, you say, bend the knee. The rest of you can keep your civilization, your little pocket of the galaxy, but you will be our vassal and you will pay us tithes on a monthly basis. And they say, all hail the mighty, Fulu. And you're like, all right, good enough. And now, although they still exist, making for good fun role play, because you want you want the Cardassians, right? You want the Gaul, you want the other species out there, but you've functionally conquered them. They still exist, they still make decisions, their empire's still growing, but they are subjugated to you. So there's multiple ways to do that. You probably play a species where you go out and you conquer the enemy civilizations and you eat all the people. You just devour them and consume them like a food source or an energy source. You could do that in Stellaris, and then there's nothing left. They're gone. We ate them all. So that's kind of fun. But that's a very unique niche way to play. You got to build your civilization for that. Where are we at? Unity. Unity is possibly the most valuable resource. A lot of people will say technology, research is the most valuable. They're probably right. Because science is so powerful in the game. There's hundreds of technologies you can gain if you have enough research. You can get godlike technologies, godlike powers. But Unity gets us our traditions, a lot of tradition trees, which themselves represent special abilities. Here's the thing, everything in Stellaris is a modifier. A new technology, 5% modifier. New tradition, 5% modifier. New leader, 5% modifier. A roleplay choice at an anomaly. Hey, do we research these ancient runes or destroy them from space with orbital bombardment? You choose one or the other, you get a little modifier. And so everything in the game is a little more resources or a special ability to get more resources, but they're all modifiers. So in a sense, traditions or a leader with a special skill or a technology all represent roughly a similar add-on to your civilization. And you're going to add on hundreds of add-ons, dozens of technologies, dozens of tradition picks, dozens of leaders, dozens of other choices, dozens of buildings that give you modifiers. All the things collect together. So never think that one technology is so OP. It's really comparable to almost any other thing you can get that's a permanent add-on to your society, right? So I'm going to say that the game is played with really two aspects. Your resources, meaning all these numbers at the top, you make them go up. That's one really important part to your civilization. The other important part to your civilizations is modifier after modifier after modifier that you're grabbing from every place in the game. And for the most part, those modifiers functionally last forever. Either decades to forever. So yeah, think about it that way. So let's jump back up to looking at Unity. Unity is going to get you traditions, which gets you a boatload of modifiers. Unity is also how we pay for our edicts, in particular if we want to unlock all the edicts, turn them all on. That's an entire list of over a dozen special modifiers that you can turn on if you can afford them. If you can't afford them, you maybe get 2 or 3 of them at a time, and that's cool as well. The nice thing about edicts is they're modifiers that you can turn on and off with a checkbox. Most modifiers you get some new technology, you get some galactic civilization changing +5 to your happiness forever. You can't turn it off. It's just on. It's good, but it's just always there. But the edict strategy that I'm playing with on this playthrough, I built my civilization for, is just toggles. Check yes, check no. Do I want more energy? Yes. Do I want more food? Yes. Do I want more research? Yes. And I can just turn these things off. My strategy is going to be to turn them all on. But edicts cost Unity. So traditions come from Unity. Edicts come from Unity. And leaders come from Unity. And although we haven't looked at the leaders tab yet, we will get into this. Our officials, our commanders, and our scientists. You don't have that many leaders in the game, but you're going to get up to 12 to 20, 25 leaders possibly. There's, it's kind of a cap on there, but Unity gets you all those things. And good leaders can add multiple modifiers to your civilization. Whether it's at a planetary scale, a fleet scale, or empire-wide, yeah, your leaders are important. So in my mind, building around Unity and having a good Unity supply is pretty darn important. Okay, that's enough about Unity for now. We're well suited for it, though. We're going to have our priests and our bureaucrats getting us a lot of Unity. Finally, over here, we have research. Not finally, research. Oh, it's just so long. Research is broken down into 3 categories: physics, society, engineering. The more scientists you have, the more research you'll generate every month. The more research stations out there in space that you build, like analyzing alien life forms, strange moons, runes, nebulae, energy fields, will get you more research. You're going to build those numbers up. You can get those research numbers into the multiple hundreds apiece. You can get them into the multiple thousands apiece if you lean heavy into that. We won't. We will not get to that level most likely because that's not the direction we're going. But yeah, the more research you have, the more technologies you can gain, the more quickly you can gain them. But ultimately, each individual technology is not functionally is more or less a modifier. I'd say the one thing technologies have going for them, though, that maybe is a little better than, say, just Unity-based traditions, is that although you're getting a lot of modifiers from technology, some things you get from technology are just like, oh, hey, you can build a battleship now. And you're like, whoa, that's not a modifier. That's a whole new level of building that I had no access to before. And then I got the technology. Now I get this building, or now I get this new class of ship or starbase weaponry. So yeah, technology is probably the most important aspect of the game. But for me personally, at the current state of Stellaris, I really like focusing in on Unity. I think you can get more done with Unity faster in the early game, in the first third of the game, than you can with research. Research takes a while to get rolling. Research will serve you well, though, through the early game, into the mid game, into the late game. Possibly more so than Unity would. So in that sense, I would say if you're going to choose between them, go hard into Unity early, but eventually Unity really is going to level off. You'll get every tradition you can pick. You'll have all the leaders you can hire, and they will all be high-level leaders. And there's just not that much else you can do. So, yeah, in that sense, technology probably outstrips it in the end. The final things we're not going to talk about today. These final 4 categories here require quite a bit of understanding. These are metrics for your civilization, not resource numbers. So they're going to fall into next week's lesson. But these metrics are really important. They represent some pretty valuable things about your civilization, and they will require their own special talk through. That's where we're going to end. If you stuck with me for an hour and 21 minutes, I appreciate it. This, again, is kind of the grand overview of the game you're playing. We're probably going to have several weeks of this where we're just digging in before we really start running the clock and playing the game, right? We'll start getting some of our little fleets set out. We're going to look at our planet. We're going to look at, all these windows over here. We're going to work right through them. We're going to look at this stuff up here, these metrics, talk about a lot of stuff. And eventually, it'll boil down into gameplay. At that point, most users will probably say, sayonara. I watched through your first 4 or 5 episodes where you kind of talked about all the mechanics of the game, and I'm good. Now I don't need to see you watch anymore. See you, Mark, play the game. But some people will stick with me because after those initial episodes where we talk about the mechanics of everything on the screen, we will start talking about the strategies and the reasoning behind the choices. And we'll have fun just seeing what options come up, role play scenarios and all that, talking about what it means to do one thing versus another. Throughout all my playthrough on this, which might come to 20, 30 videos over the next year, 30 plus hours of this series, it will always be why? What could we do? What will the ramifications be? And just in general, having fun with it. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll see you in episode 3. If you watched, thank you. Take care.